Tuungane sote na tushereke pamoja ushindi kwa ukombozi wetu. Tujitoe wenyewe, tusimame pamoja kulinda uhuru na umoja wetu. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote tuimbe pamoja, kuenzi shikamano hatima yetu. Tujitoe wenyewe kupambana pamoja, uhuru na umoja vitawale. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika.
And I love this Swahili language. I love this music. It talks about Africa, about uniting Africa under one common umbrella. Today we are talking about United States of Africa and the need for one common language. The need for one common language. But before we start kicking off, I just want you to subscribe to Humanist TV Africa on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok, all at Humanist TV Africa. You can also contact us on info@humanisttvafrica.com. Our WhatsApp on the screen, +2547473567767, and also check us out on www.humanisttvafrica.com. humanisttvafrica.com. Today we are going the Pan-African way, and we are talking about United States of Africa. But there is one feature that will define Africa's when that United States of Africa we are all dreaming of finally comes into reality. But before that, let me welcome my brother from Nigeria, Comrade Nandi. Comrade Nandi, my Tarok advocate. Welcome, Comrade Nandi. I hope you are doing well.
Yes.
Wow. You're looking great, man. You're looking so great. And also let me welcome my fellow West African, Emmanuel Mambu from Sierra Leone. Where is Mambu? You are Mambu. You are a black man with a black face. We can't see your face.
Thank you, Comrade. Nana.
I hope you are
doing well. I'm doing well.
Yes.
Nandi, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Mambu. I'm very happy to see the gang. You know. Yes.
Wow,
yes.
The gang is back for good. And today, by the power of technology, we are all here under this platform in one common studio. But we are using the English language to talk, to discuss, to do everything. What calls for the usage of the English language? Is it because of our colonial masters? That is why we are using the English language, because I know English is well spoken in Sierra Leone and also in Nigeria, as well as Ghana here. So we are talking about United States of Africa and the need for one common language. And the United States of Africa, we talk about United States of Africa, there is this dream that every African that we know, though there are other separatists who thinks otherwise, the need for one unitary United States of Africa, in which we can call this continent our home, our country, with one government, whether it will be federal or whether it will be regional or whatever. All what we are asking for is the united front in the United States of Africa. And I think since time memorial, I think Marcus Garvey even coined the word United States of Africa in, I think, 1922, when he sang his poem, Hail United States of Africa. And Kwame Nkrumah and the other early freedom fighters who fought for the liberation of many African states from these colonialists also fronted for United States of Africa, especially Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere of Tanzania, and other leading African advocates. But today, before I'll go back to my brothers for them to also tell us what they think about the need for one common language. Let me start my discussion by okay. I'm coming. Okay, it's right here. Okay. Yeah, languages in Africa. You know, we have over 2,000 languages in Africa. I think people watching us today will marvel or will marvel in disbelief, but that's the fact. We have over 2,000 languages in Africa, and we have about 4 major languages here in Africa, and the diversity of Africa's languages is evidenced by their population. In total, there are at least 75 languages in Africa, which have more than 1 million speakers. The rest are spoken by population ranging from a few hundred to several 100,000 speakers. Most of the languages are primarily oral with little available in written form. But when our ancestors were living in Kemetic Egypt, we laid down the principles of writing. But when we were destabilized in Kemetic Egypt, we lost that art of writing. But the languages of Africa are break down into 4 families or pillars, with an additional Australasian family spoken in Madagascar. The 4 continental languages families are Niger Congo, Nilo-Saharan, Afro-Asiatic, and the Khoisan languages. So we start with the Niger Congos. We are talking about the major languages here in Africa. And then Niger Congo is not a language per se, but it is an umbrella of group of languages between the Niger River and the Congo River. So the Niger Congo languages with approximately 1,350 to 1,650 languages is the largest of the 4. It is also the largest languages family in the world. The Niger-Congo languages inhabit Western, Central, Eastern, and Southern Africa. The most widely spoken languages of Africa are Swahili, 200 million, Yoruba, 45 million, Igbo, 30 million, Fula, 35 million, and our language, the Akan language, is also spoken, all the 3 languages spoken by more than 20 million people here in Ghana. And I presume my brother from the Tarok family, I don't know, he will tell us more about the Tarok languages, because you have Yoruba and Igbo and Fula languages all representing in the Niger-Congo family. So we move from this stock of family, the Niger-Congo languages, to Afro-Asiatic languages. The next largest family is Afro-Asiatic, with about 200 to 300 member languages in Africa. The Afro-Asiatic languages in Africa are found mainly in the northern regions of Africa, including northern Nigeria, southern Niger, Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and in the North African countries of Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, etc. So that's the Afro-Asiatic. And you know, Hausa language belong to the Afro-Asiatic. It have an element of the Arabic indigenous language in it, so it all belongs to the Afro-Asiatic languages. Then we move on to the Nilo-Saharan languages. Next in the size, the Nilo-Saharan family, with about 80 languages. These occupy Eastern Africa, the northeastern region of Africa, namely Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Chad, and Sudan. So that is the Nilo-Saharan. Today we don't have our comrade Kato here. He would have talked more about the Eastern African languages. So we move on to the other languages. But as of 2022, there were over 2,000 living languages in Africa, with 520 languages Nigeria accounted for around a fourth of the total languages spoken in Africa. Cameroon and the Democratic Republic of Congo followed, each with 200 living languages. So we have a lot of languages here in Africa. If you can see the chart on your screen, you can see Nigeria is leading with about 520 languages, and you can see it's not that clear, but you can see it follows in order the number of languages in each particular country. So there are many widespread trade languages and lingua francas apart from the indigenous languages we have. In addition to those mentioned above, some including English and French were imported and used by administrators, missionaries, and traders during the colonial period. Some of those languages have become the national languages of independent nation states, and with the spread of formal education, they are gaining greater acceptance between the Sahara and the Zambezi River. Either English or French is widely understood. Okay. French is an official language in the states that formerly made up French West Africa and French Equatorial Africa, as well as in Madagascar and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Similarly, English is the official language or is widely spoken in the states of Western, Central, and Eastern Africa, formerly under British administration, and it's also the official language in Liberia. Portuguese is used officially and otherwise in the countries formerly under Portugal. So I will just bring my discussion to a halt, then I will let my comrades come in. But in South Africa, English and Afrikaans switched along from 17th century Dutch by way of descendants of European, Dutch, German, and French colonies, indigenous Khoisan-speaking peoples, and the African and Asian slaves are among many official languages. Hindi, Gujarati, Urdu, and other languages of the Indian subcontinent are spoken in the Asian communities. In Western Africa, forms of Creole, and if I talk about Creole, I think our comrade Emmanuel Mambu will give us some sweet melody of the Creole language, and it's a beautiful language. Creole is more or less like our pidgin. As here we speak pidgin here in Ghana, in Nigeria. I don't know much about the Creole, but I think comrade Mambu will give us a detailed information about that. And pidgin are widespread in the coast towns of a very heterogeneous ethnic composition. In Southern Africa, Fanagalo, a mixture of English and local Bantu tongue, notably Zulu, is still spoken in some mining areas. So basically, these are the languages spoken here in Africa. And you know, the great majority of African languages have no indigenous forms of writing. Several of them, as I said earlier, however, were transcribed in the 20th century by missionary linguists, native speakers, and others. Many African languages, such as Swahili, have for centuries been written in Arabic script. The best known exception to the Arabic writing system are those of the Vai of Liberia and Sierra Leone, the Moom of Cameroon, and the Tuareg and other Berber groups of the Southern Sahara, all of whom invented their own script. So we have communities here in Africa, or societies here in Africa, who were able to develop their own writing. And we were talking about the Moom of Cameroon, the Tuareg, the Vai of Liberia and Sierra Leone, and which means, and even in ancient Kemetic Africa, we started writing. So it was unfortunate the Arabs came and started writing our languages in Arabic, and the Europeans also came and we started writing our languages. Like in Ghana, for instance, the Akan language, the Tree language, was written for us by the Portuguese. So indirectly, when we write it in our local language, it is a Portuguese language we are writing. So that is all said and done. We will come back to the studio and listen to the views of my other comrades. Comrade Nandi, let me start with you. Nigeria be the most populous country in Africa, and with over 520 languages. How can you identify each other? How can you in your own country? But so you are sometimes more or less a stranger in your own country. Tell us about the common about the languages in Nigeria and how we can diversify these languages in bridging it all together into one United States of Africa?
Yes. Thank you so much, Comrade Nana. And you are welcome, Comrade Mabu. Yes, this topic is very, very interesting. And I like it. That is United States of Africa. And the need for, a common language. You see, we are talking about the United States of Africa. We have been looking for Africa to be united for a very long time. One of our patriots, which is called Muammar Gaddafi, he really wants Africa to be united. He really wants Africa to have a common currency. And he really wants Africa to have a common voice. But what? The West discovered this and decided to do away with him. To become united as Africans, we have been divided for a very long time. This is a very difficult situation for us. And we are going to find it very difficult to become united, in the sense that we are being divided by language barriers. We have French, we have Portuguese, we have English, we have a lot of different language, and we have Arab, of which all these major languages that have been spoken in Africa is a colonial languages. It's only few of these languages that are Africans. To be united as Africans, we must have to have a common language that will be acceptable and spoken by all, which I know is difficult. Now, let's talk about the Niger-Congo language that Comrade Nana earlier narrated. In that aspect of linguistic, you discover that there's a lot of languages being mentioned in Africa, in that Niger-Congo language. As in Tarok, according to our history and migration, we migrated from the Bantu to Congo, and then we found ourselves in Nigeria. And then we find ourselves also speaking Tarok. Tarok is a language that we spoke in in Plateau State, of which in a local government, you will discover that one local government that maybe just 1,000 or 2,000 people, you will discover that they speak 3 different languages. In Plateau State, one language, one local government, you see different people speak different languages. Now, let's come down to the Afro-Asiatic language, of which Nigeria is best into, of which the Hausa, the Fulani, and other tribes in the West Africa, of which Comrade Nana, his own language is inclusive. You discover that majority of people, especially in Nigeria, they speak Igbo, Yoruba, and Hausa. This is Afrotic Asia language. Then, in part of the northern Nigeria, there is what is called, they mix it with Arabic, in the sense that because this a colonialism of a thing has been here for a very long time. That's why people from the northern Nigeria, which is the Hausa, they kind of mix their language with the Arab language. You can see a Hausa man will call you that you didn't belong to their own same religion. You call it Monafuki. And to their own reasoning, they think that Monafuki or Monafuka is an Hausa language. But no, when I started studying the Quran, reading it, I discovered that, and the explanation of the words in the Quran, I discovered that That Munafuka is not an Hausa language. It's an Arabic language, which means that it's an all believer Arabic language. But the Hausa people from Nigeria, northern Nigeria, which the Arab people came long years ago, didn't colonize them, and they used their language that is kind of mixed with the Hausa language. They thought that Munafuka or Munafuki is an Hausa language, but most of them didn't know that it's an Arabic. It's an Asian language. Now, another name again, another word in Hausa language, they call Majalisa. Majalisa. That is, Majalisa is a kind of a setting in Hausa, but they don't know that that Majalisa is a kind of, it means a cathedral, a big building in what? In Arabic. But the Hausa man will tell you that Majalisa, that is Majalisa Dinkin, that is United Nation. Majalisa Dinkin Dunia in Hausa, but in English it's called United Nation. That is, it's a big cathedral that people gathered to discuss. But the Hausa man thinks that Majalisa is his language. But no, it's an Arabic. That's why I'm Afro-Asiatic language. So we Africans, we are being used and dumped, exploited, enslaved, what in human, in material, in languages, and so other aspects. We are just like a dumping ground. In language-wise, in economy-wise, they will take our resources away. They will bring their language. They will force it on us to learn. When are we Africans going to free ourselves from this? Because everything is just getting too much for us. We cannot even reason very well. Religion is brought to us. Our traditional and cultural way of doing it has been bastardized. Religion is foreign. Language is foreign. Our food that we know about eating is foreign. Everything is foreign. Our houses now that we used to live in thatch house, and we drink in a calabash and a earthen pot, is no more to be found again. Everything is what? Imported and foreign to us. That's why we always die. And when we refuse to die, they import guns to come and kill us. When are we going to be free? When are we going to be free as Africans? This is the question that every African youth is supposed to answer, because everything has been what? Destroyed, including our languages. United States of Africa is a very good one. Muammar Gaddafi started it, and they killed him for that. So now we are going to, we are trying to make need of a common language. It's not going to be possible except we unite as Africans, because this language of a thing. Am I out of point? Because I have not even submitted. I have not even concluded.
No, I'll allow you. I'll allow you to come back, but I wanted to hear our brother from Sierra Leone, and I want you to I want you to compare your points very well, so that after my brother from Sierra Leone finishes with his argument, then you take it from there. Hello, my comrade brother Emmanuel Mambu.
Yes.
Please, can we hear you? Yes.
Yes, I can.
Yes. So we were talking about the United States of Africa. We want one Africa as a state and as a country. But with many countries like Russia, like China, like even America, they have one common language which all of them rally around, and it helps them in trade. It helps them in law, in commerce, in all atmosphere of their life. What is the language situation in Sierra Leone, and what do you think Africa can use, because right now we've settled on Swahili. We settled to use Swahili as one language, one common language for the whole Africa, especially Sub-Saharan Africa. If you cast your mind back to Sierra Leone, what do you think Sierra Leone can learn from a single common language in Sierra Leone, as well as a single or one common language within the entire subcontinent?
Yes, thank you very much, Comrade Nana. First of all, I will say this language of a thing is another issue, is another problem, or is another factor that is actually causing a lot of havoc in Africa. Because look at Nigeria, for say, look at how many languages they have. And because of this language, we are also facing a lot of tribal wars because of different languages. Somebody will say, no, I am this language, I don't like this other language, or I don't want this other language. I mean, because you are speaking that, you are from this other language, I mean, you are speaking this type of language, so I will not allow you. And a lot of discrimination is also among people because of this language of a thing. So language in Africa is a very big problem. It's actually a very big problem in Africa, because it's also bringing a lot of issues among us Africans. Like you were saying, you will go to like the United States of America, you know, and they only speak their English. You go to Great Britain, it's English. You go to China, the Chinese, they speak their Chinese. But here is, like in my country, Sierra Leone, we have different type of languages. And I will tell you, I can even speak four different languages from my country. So, you know, like, but I'm from a different, I speak different language. Maybe we have the Timi, we have the Limba, we have the Soso, we have the Kranko, we have the Mende. And these are all different languages. So if in fact, in Sierra Leone, it is even the cause of even the political indifferences among us. Because the Mende will say, I don't want the Timini to rule me. I mean, the Timini should not be heard. Or maybe the Timini will say, I will not allow a Mende man to rule. So this is actually a problem in Africa. It is actually a problem in Africa. So if there is a way where we will have like one language which we will speak in Africa, I think it will help us a lot. It will also change our way of thinking. Because this language, you know, like in Sierra Leone, we have, like you mentioned, the Creole. The Creole actually is a general language after English, because Sierra Leone is an English-speaking country. So after English, the Creole is the next. Like everybody is like it's like compulsory. You must speak Creole. You must speak Creole. So like every other person in Sierra Leone, unless maybe, because however, there are people who cannot speak it very well, and there are also people who cannot even attempt it. So, but it is our general language, and everybody speak it. And Creole, mind you, Creole is from Sierra Leone, to be precise, was founded from the free slaves from America and other parts of the world. So when they went to America and other parts of the world, they were actually learning how to speak English. And because they were not able to speak the English very well. So they landed in speaking Creole. When the free slaves were returned back to Freetown, and then they settled in Freetown. So they were speaking the Creole. So Creole is almost like English. Like a lot of ways you pronounce, a lot of things that you pronounce in English is almost the same in Creole. So learning our ancestors were trying to learn the English, but because they could not speak the English very well, that was how they landed in speaking Creole. So like if you say go, the same go in English is the same go in Creole. The same come in English is the same come in Creole. So it's almost like a broken English. That was how you could see the Creole. The Creole is, if you speak English to somebody who speaks Creole, they will hear it very clear. It's only the way the pronunciation goes. So that is how it is. And then we also have the Mendes, which is my ethnic, my language, and I speak it very well. It's different. And then we also have the Timini. So these languages in Africa is actually, to me, is actually the cause of one of the cause of African problem. So if we could try and get one language, it will actually help Africa. And I know Gaddafi was trying to actually unite us as to get us as United States of Africa, and that was even the reason why the West said no, we will not agree. So they eliminated him because of that. So and this is actually getting us problem. And like now, like in West Africa, we have this West African passport which you can use, the ECOWAS passport. I don't know if you know about it, Nana. You can use it for Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Ghana, Guinea, Liberia, and it's an ECOWAS passport. If that one also could be allowed in the eastern part of Africa and also the South Africa, it will actually be nice, for us in Africa. But language actually, Nana, is actually a very big problem in Africa. And also a very big, like in my country, it's actually a very big problem because people are fighting among themselves. Everybody's trying to defend his language. Everybody wants to say my language is the best. Or we are the original owners of Sierra Leone. We are the original settlers of Sierra Leone. Your language came and made Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Emmanuel Mambu of Sierra Leone. And let me talk about United States of Africa. Then I'll ask you a question. If you are to choose one particular language to be used or to be spoken throughout the entire Africa, which language will you, Emmanuel Mambu, prefer? But before I come to that question, let me talk about the African Union. The African Union has set itself the task of building a unified and integrated Africa by 2025, and we are in 2024. But I don't see any seriousness in what they are talking about. If you are talking about the unified and integrated Africa, you talk about the ECOWAS card. True, I have my ECOWAS card with me, and it works, especially within our body. But we need a peaceful continent to thrive, because if I go to Burkina, there is war over there. If I go to Niger, there is war over there. If I go to other various countries, there are symptoms of war all over the places, and we need peace. And the only thing that can guarantee us peace in Africa is United States of Africa. But the advocates for this supranational political union believe that it will immensely promote peace and development in the crisis-ridden continent. So if we have a united front, the United States of Africa, I don't think there will be any more civil war, or will there be any other states trying to secede from this United States of Africa? Right now, there are many people, intellectuals, who are saying there is no need for a United States of Africa. There are people who are of that view that there is no need of that. But it's for me and for the school of thought I belong, it is important that we build this continent into a one United States of Africa. And in 2019, the African Union adopted, 2022, yeah. In 2022, the African Union adopted Swahili as its working language. Swahili as its working language. So right now in Africa, you have to tell your people, your family, your friends that they should, have interest in learning Swahili, because right now it is the working language. Then when we are talking about Swahili, even around 1962, 1964 here in Ghana, the University of Ghana was teaching or was lecturing in Swahili, was teaching the Swahili language. language. So there's this school of thought that because Swahili is next to Arabic as the major spoken language here in Africa, it should be used. It should be used here in Africa. But some people too are of other view altogether, because Yoruba people are more than 35 to getting 40 million people are also speak Yoruba. More than 30 million, 35 million to 40 million also speak Igbo. So these languages also rivals the Swahili. And there is this other opinion from other people, and they are saying that even the Swahili language have the imprint of colonialism, because it contains Arabic. The Swahili indeed evolved from the Arabian language, the Arabic language. So they say it is not even an African language. There are other school of thought which claims Swahili itself is not. And if you talk about Swahili, it's the same as Kiswahili. So I think if my East African brothers were here, they would have explained it more to us. So coming back to you, to my comrade Nandi, our Karok brother, is there a need for United States of Africa? Is there a need from your own perspective or from your own school of thought? Is there a need of a United States of Africa?
Yes, thank you, Comrade Nana. There is a need for United States of Africa. You know, Africa has a lot of countries, and then those countries, most of our leaders, they are not doing what is expected of them to do for the betterment of the African people and the betterment of the African population that we have. We have so much population, but the population is useless to us, because the more population you have, the more your economy will be better for it. But what of Africa? Our population is just useless for us. That's why you see most of our youth, they are going to Europe, Asia, and many other countries in the world because of bad leadership. Now, if Africa is united and have a one kind of prime minister or a president that's to be in charge of all the African countries, and then each African country will become a state, like the way the United States of America is. So each country in Africa should become a state, and we have a head that we kind of lead all Africans, unite all Africans to become one. The poor countries in Africa will be supported to become something, and the rich African countries will be also supported the one that they are weak. That's what is called united. That's why we become what? One. But one person, which I always call his name, Muammar Gaddafi, have that agenda. During the time of Muammar Gaddafi, his country is one of the best in Africa. But go to Libya now. Libya has become a what? A refugees. We are slaves, where other Africans like me and you be sold, and then they will be moved to what? Arab countries and Europe. That's not supposed to be so. The West know that. So the need for Africa to be united is not something that should be argued about. We need to be one. We need to be united, because the map of Africa, if you see geographically, have already cut out itself. I've already removed itself from other places to tell you that we are one. Not about the skin color.
Not to cut you. So for economic reasons, there's a need for Africa to unite. What about for linguistic reasons? What about, is there a need also for one common language? And which language do you think will perfectly fit for we the Africans? Is it Hausa? Is it Yoruba? Is it Swahili? Is it Akan? Is it Mende?
Nana. See, that's where the problem will come. If we bring about languages, that's why Africa will never unite. Because
but we have adopted the Swahili as our working language. The African Union have adopted the Swahili.
How many people? Yes, Nana, listen to me. How many people in Nigeria can speak Swahili?
No one in Nigeria. About 200 million Africans can also speak Swahili.
Listen to me. How many people in Africa, East Africa, can speak Hausa or Fulani or Fulde? So this language of a thing, that's why we will not unite us. So to have a common language in Africa is a very difficult thing. The statistics you show us now, Nigeria alone have over 400 languages. Nigeria alone. Nigeria. Will the East Africa allowed
Nigeria have 520 languages?
Yes, that's what I say. More than 400. That's from 400 is 500 and above. So now, would people from the East Africa accept Hausa or Fulani or Igbo or Yoruba to become the general language for the African people? Will the people from the North Africa who speaks Arabic accept Igbo as the general language, or the language from the Ghanaian, or the language from the Sierra Leone people, or the language from the Uganda? That's where the problem is. How are we going to start doing this? It's a very difficult thing. But to unite Africa, I know it's possible. But to use a single language to unite us is a problem. It will take us maybe 100 years before we can be able to achieve that. The Arabs did it from the people in the North Africa and part of Nigeria, northern Nigeria. The Europeans did it. The French people did it in Africa. The Portuguese also did it in Africa. So it takes a lot of things and force. So if we can be able to make it possible, because our leaders have become what? Done this, have become those on the hands of they become puppets on the hands of the Europeans. This language of a thing is not going to be possible. But to unite, we need.
Don't you think we should just adopt the English and the French language, because it is the international language and nothing we can do about it? We should just adopt it as Africans and continue to speak it. Don't you think
English, French is not Africans? We need to do away with this. But
these are the most dominant languages. You know, English is official or second languages in 27 out of the 54 countries in Africa, whilst French is 21 out of 54 countries. So both of them, I think they are more than 50 languages, countries. They are dominating. So why don't we just accept it and move on, speak English, speak French? Because trying to learn the Swahili or Igbo or Hausa will be much more difficult than learning the English and the French.
Nana,
if I could come in.
Yes, 1 minute, Mabu, 1 minute. We cannot just accept something that was forced on us. This is colonialism. These colonial people force their language on us, deal with our ancestors, kill them, make them purposely to learn their language. Now, the other people did the same thing to us. This is a very difficult situation. And we, as Africans, we have to come up with a consensus. Whether the African people, we should make it mandatory to every country in Africa to maybe use Swahili as an official language, no any other language, or Hausa, or Igbo, or the language of the Ghanaian, or the language of the Sierra Leone. We should make it, we should have a consensus so that we can do away with these languages, the English language.
Which language do you prefer? If you were being asked to choose one single language to be used across the entire Africa, which language will you use? Will you choose?
Hello?
If you were asked to choose only one language across Africa to be spoken across the entire Africa continent, which language will you, Comrade Nandip, choose?
Yes, that's why I said consensus. Consensus means that we have to and agree.
I'm just asking your mind. I'm just asking you.
Okay, you're asking of me.
Yes, the Tarok language or the Igbo language, or which language will you prefer?
Yes. Let me answer you. I will need to be selfish at this particular point in time. I will say, let's use the Tarok language as the general language for the African people.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Sierra Leone. I'll be back. Are you an African? You are an African. You are an African. Let's go to Sierra Leone. I'll be back. My brother Emmanuel Mambu, you know the most popular languages here in Africa are Arabic, French, Swahili, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Berber, Oromo, Portuguese, and Amharic. Which language do you want Africa to use as one common language across the breadth of Africa, the length and breadth of Africa? And why will you choose that language? My comrade Emmanuel Mambu from Sierra Leone.
First of all, I want you to know that African Union is not a serious organization. So they are not serious about anything. They will just say something, but they don't work towards what they say. Because if you are talking about 2025 and now we are in 2024, so what do you mean? What will happen? This language of routine, Nana, we are just talking about it. This is something that is going to take Africa 25 to 30 years if we really want to achieve what we are talking about now. It will take Africa 25 to 30 years because, first of all, how will Africa agree on one language? To me, I will choose the Swahili, honestly, even though I'm a Sierra Leonean and Swahili is not even part of Sierra Leonean culture. We do not know what is Swahili, but I just love the stuff of, the language Swahili. And I think it looks like it's simple to understand. So Swahili will be okay for Africa to adopt, as the African language. Because I will not say French. French is not an African language. I will not say English. To me, Nana, I choose Swahili. But so if you say we are going to
Swahili because of the simplicity of the language and the number of people who speak that language.
Yes, it's simple, and also I think it will be achievable within the time frame. But if we are depending on African Union to do anything about that, my brother, let's sleep for another day. Our great-grandchildren will talk about it. Because African Union is not a serious organization. They are just there to, to eat, whatever.
But to buttress the point you are saying, Swahili is also the official language of East African communities, the EAC. And I think around 2019, it was recognized by the Southern African Development community after it was introduced into classrooms. So in South Africa, and I think South Africa, Zimbabwe also, they teach Swahili in the classroom. So officially, it is being written and orally spoken. So it will be easier to spread it across Africa, as we said. So I also encourage the use of Swahili or Swahili as one common language.
Yes, and the other thing I was trying to say, Nana, looking at how would Africa unite? First of all, let's say, why do I need to get a visa to go to South Africa? Why do I need to get a visa to go to Morocco? Why? I don't see any need.
It's a sovereign state.
I don't see any need. Yes, but we are all in Africa. I think it should be free movement within Africa. If I want to go to Ghana, I will just, wake up in the morning and go. If I want to go to South Africa, I will just wake up in the morning, buy my flight ticket and go. I do not need to apply for visa to travel to South Africa. Whilst we are all in Africa. So we are still, you know, living in darkness in Africa. We still have a lot to work on. We still have a lot to do as Africans. And this is not a 5-year stop, because the organizations which will think that will stand up, you know, to fight against these things, or maybe try to put these things together, they are not being serious about it. You know, they are not being serious about it. They are just there as an organization, just the name African Union. But I don't see anything happening. You know, I always see our president travel. Oh, I'm going on African Union meeting, and then you go with a lot of delegation, use the taxpayers' money, and you just go 3-4 days, live in a luxurious hotel, and then eat a lot of food, take per diem, and then return back home with nothing. So it's just a way of wasting our resources, wasting the taxpayers' money, these organizations, but they are not doing anything. Look at what they did in Niger when they coup. I mean, there was a coup in Niger. It was just threatening. Oh, we are going there. We are going to Niger. We are going to do this. What happened? Nothing at the end of the day. And now they have even lifted the sanctions on Niger. So they are just there to back. They are just backing, but they cannot bite. You know, they are dogs. They just back, but they don't bite. So Africa, we are actually going to go. The language that we are talking about, for Africa to adopt a single language, you know, for us for it to be our,
thank you very
it's
much.
something that will take 20 to 30 years. Okay.
Thank you very much, Comrade Emmanuel Mambu. And you know, when I was talking about the Chinese having a common Mandarin language, and I think the Russians and North Korea, but in Africa we have a very different situation here. You know, we have over 3,000 ethnicities or ethnic groupings here in Africa, 3,000, and it is so diverse. It's so diverse that your fellow African, you can see your fellow African as a stranger because of their cultural capabilities. Yes, so you know, having this common language as the Chinese did. You know, the Chinese, the ethnicity, though they were diverse, the ethnicity were stuck in one. The Mandarin language, all these languages were from one languages, like the Congo, Niger Congo languages that we were talking about. So it wasn't difficult for all of them to rally around the Mandarin language. And the same happens to the Russians, the North Koreans. But with Africa, we have 2,000 languages. Even from Ghana, there's languages just about 50 miles away from me. I cannot speak that language, and I cannot understand that language too. So that is also a problem. And should we forget about having a common language and still stick with our English, French, Portuguese? Or there is the need as African and as an identifiable culture, is there a need for us to have this common language? My Taro brother, your last words, then I'll go to Sierra Leone, then we'll close for the day. But before that, I want you to subscribe to Humanist TV Africa on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter, all at Humanist TV Africa. You can also write to us, contact us. This is our email, info@humanisttvafrica.com, info@humanisttvafrica. And our WhatsApp two is on the screen. Can join us, can be part of the family. You can volunteer as a presenter, as a researcher, as a media personnel with Humanist TV Africa. So text us on +254 747 356 767. And also you can check us out. We have numerous articles on our website, www.humanisttvafrica.com. We have entertaining articles and serious and political articles there too. So you can also check it out. My brother from another mother, Comrade Nandi of Nigeria. Your last word
Yes,
on this subject.
yes. Nana, thank you for the last opportunity. Yes, you see, United States of Africa, yes. United States of Africa, yes. But the need for a common language, no. In the sense that we are diverse in culture, identity, and languages. Africa can be united under one prime minister or a president. That one is okay. But languages in Africa to be as an official language, to my candid opinion, is going to be very, very difficult. It will take us, it will take us some years before we will have a common language as Africans to speak in all of the continent of Africa. But to unite as Africa, to have a common president or a prime minister, this is achievable. We can be able to do it. And we have started it, only that the wish of the bad people that doesn't want to see the progress of Africa thwarted that move. And the move is still on the pipeline. We can be united as one and indivisible Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, my comrade from Sierra Leone. What do you say about this? Your last phrase.
Yes, yes, yes. Just like Comrade Nandip have said, if we are talking about common language in Africa, it's going to take us 20 to 30 years to achieve that. And it's not going to be easy. But for a united Africa also, I think I will not blame the West for Africa not being a united Africa or for us not achieving that. I also blame the criminals we have in Africa as leaders. They are the ones who are fighting it for Africa not to get, not to unite. Because everybody wants to be the head of his own country. Everybody wants to be the king of his own country. So for Africa to unite and have one head with a prime minister, even the African heads themselves, our so-called criminal presidents we have in Africa, they will not accept it now. Because for now, they are very relaxed, doing their criminal activities. So they will not accept it. It's like a squirrel eating groundnut, and then you say, you want to take that groundnut from the squirrel. You will not accept it. Or you take a groundnut and give a squirrel to keep. The next morning when you come, you will not meet anything. So that is how it is. So to me, I will not blame the West for that. I will blame the African leaders, the ones we have, those criminals we have as leaders in Africa. They do not want it. And they are also, they are in the system trying to and fighting the system. That is why the AU is not even serious about it. Because the AU know the African leaders themselves will not accept it. Because, how would you tell Tinubu to be how would you tell Tinubu that you want Africa to unite and have one head of state? One head and also a prime minister. And Tinubu will see that no, you want to degrade me, or you want to how will I say, lessen my power. So he will not accept it. Likewise, in my own country too. If you tell Mother Bill that okay, we want Africa to unite, to have one leader, and you will be under that leader, he will say no. I want to go there as a president of Sierra Leone. Just being pompous. So they will not accept it. So to me, Comrade Nana, the African leaders themselves, they are the ones fighting against this united Africa of a thing.
Thank you very much. Our time is due. Thank you, comrades, and we really have a fruitful conversation about the United States of Africa and the need of one common language. And as my comrade from Nigeria said, the unity of Africa, United States of Africa, yes, by the use of one language, no. And What do you say about that, Comrade Mambu? Should we adopt one language and fifth language should be that? You said Swahili. You said earlier Swahili. So
no,
we will take
yes, if we get one language, it will be better, but it will take us 30 years to achieve that.
Yes. And I also support the use of Swahili as the ultimate African language. And I was second my Akan language, my Tree language to the Swahili, because Tree is so nice to speak. It is so. Thank you very much, family. We shall definitely meet tomorrow. This is the Gang Show, Humanist TV Africa. Subscribe to all our social media channels on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Write to us and always be with us. Don't flip your dial. Keep your dials locked on Humanist TV Africa. Thank you. The name is Kwame Apiji Danka. I was joined by Nandep Andrew Bonfa and Emmanuel Mambu. Thank you very much, comrades. Adui. Goodbye.
Bye.